Hello everyone, back at it again in my little gray crawdad. I just launched the crawdad. I'm getting things squared away. To start off, we're going to be throwing a Big Bite Baits B5 line through swim bait. It's got a number 4 treble that goes in the belly. Nice thing about this is you can fish it on fairly light line and still be able to set that hook. So I've got a leader of 12-pound Yozuri hybrid, and the place we're fishing today is pretty clear. It's a little bit big of a lake for the crawdad, but either fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, it's blowing east again, sometimes northeast, sometimes southeast. But as long as I stay in the northeast corner of the lake or eastern side of the lake, I'll be okay in the crawdad. And I wanted to see if any of these fish would go after a swim bait, slow rolled along one of these spawning flats. I can see there's some beds scattered around. It looks like they're about 50% occupied. And sometimes during the spawn, the fish are just so focused on spawning, they're not too interested in eating. So things like throwing a swim bait around, even a fluke, something a little bit slower. Sometimes it's hard to get them to look at that stuff. They're just so, dialed in on the spawning activity that they're not going to leave the bed or chase down a bait. But I wanted to give this a solid shot before switching over to something more finessey. I gave that B5 swim bait a solid shot, but I couldn't even get those fish to follow it. Sometimes even if they won't eat it, they'll follow it back to the boat, and then you can throw a follow-up bait at them. I couldn't even get them to follow it. So I kind of knew I had to switch over to, bed fishing and finesse stuff. This isn't my favorite way to fish, but I just drove an hour to get here, and I'm not turning around. My original plan was to go saltwater fishing, but this east wind is just relentless, and it wouldn't have been good in the ocean. So this is fairly protected up here. And I mean, that fish was right behind the boat. I just flipped the reverse rig big TRD onto the nest to shake it a few times, and he eats it. Now this pond, as far as I know, doesn't have any rock bass, so I don't feel as guilty bed fishing. But I'm still going to try to release him really quickly. That was even quicker than I had in mind because he was shaking his way off the hook. But get him back in the water as quickly as possible and back to the nest. That's what it looks like. That's a Hut Snakes Big TRD. Reverse rigged with a 2/0 Neko hook with a fluoro keeper on there. I'm going to put up my my B5 swimmer. I saw that fish on the nest right next to the boat, and I thought I just better flip to it before I drifted away. So I just worked my way along the northeast side and east side of the pond, trying to stay in the lee here. And the name of the game is spotting those beds and dropping the big TRD right on them, and then you just shake it a little bit. You got to pay attention because you can feel the tap, and as soon as they're on it, I set the hook on them. I don't want them to swallow it. I don't want to hurt these fish. So I'm trying to make a decent cast here, and sometimes that's a little easier said than done because accuracy is important for this kind of fishing. I'm still getting blown around by the wind a little bit, but if I make a good cast and I position the bait appropriately and then shake it in the right spot, 9 out of 10 times they'll eat it right away. Mostly it's just me getting the perfect cast in. Sometimes there's a certain spot on the bed that the fish react to more than another. And I got them. See how the bait with the nail weight slides right up the line? And then all I'm left with is a fish at the end of my line with a hook in them, and they have no leverage. They can't throw the bait. The bait's already up the line. You know, the fight's pretty much over. I rarely lose them. Once that Neko hook's in them, yeah, they're coming in the boat. I think there's one fish where the plastic got balled up on the hook and I didn't get a good hook set. All the others, you know, as soon as I get a hook in them, they're coming in the boat. And compare that with a drop shot. Sometimes they can throw the hook or throw the weight. Then you have to get a new weight. Here I kind of twisted myself up, but I will sort that out. Oh boy. Move my way down along the shoreline, staying in the lee. The only problem with being in the lee is there's more flies, black flies, where there's no wind. But I can see better in places with no wind, so I'm just trying to deal with the bugs. I've got my rain gear on and my neck gaiter up over my hat, so I can fish in these conditions, and it's better than getting blown to the islands in salt water. And every time I see a light spot, I cast to it, try to get in the right spot. And there he is, another smallie. Let him go as quickly as I can. On to the next one. Yeah, the big TRD lasts a long time rigged that way. Eventually I do wear them out though. But I fished, I think, 2 days on the same bait. And at the end of this trip, the bait was really worn out. But when that happens, I just use a pair of pliers and pull the nail weight out of the tail. And then set up a new bait so it's ready to go next time. And I'm fishing. The finesse TRD also works well. I just downsize everything. Instead of using a 1/16 ounce nail weight, I use a 1/32 ounce nail weight. And I use a smaller Neko hook too. Usually something like a size 1 or 1/0. Like a rocky ledge type thing. And again with that custom fluoro keeper added to it. Here I went over this rocky shoal area. It looked really good, but I kind of blundered my way into it. You can see the marker there. I wasn't sure exactly where the rocky shoal started and where it ended. And yeah, I kind of ended up right on top of these fish, and some of them swam away. About 50% of the beds were empty, and the fish that were on the beds, they weren't exactly locked on. So if I got too close to them, they just swim away. You know, when they're really in the middle of spawning, they don't want to leave that nest for anything. And I don't know if this was sort of near the tail end of the spawn or they were just starting here. This is a deep, cold trout and smallmouth lake. So sometimes these bigger, deeper lakes with clear water, they run a little bit slower than some of the other ponds. But I haven't fished here enough to really know how it sets up. I've got copper lenses on for polarized sunglasses, and those really help see the lighter spots in this water. It's kind of overcast today. Like I said, there's a few rain showers coming through, and I like those copper glasses anytime there's low light conditions, like overcast skies or early in the morning or late in the evening. Something like that. I feel like I have better visibility than like gray lenses with a blue mirror finish, something like that. So anytime there's low light, copper or tan is a good option for me for polarized glasses. And it looks like I'm just casting at nothing here, but I'm trying to pinpoint and cast at light spots here till I pick up a fish like that. That one might be a little bit smaller. Let's see how big he is once I get my thumb on him. Yeah, little male. There he is, and there he goes, right back to his nest. Alright, by this point I kind of have a game plan in mind. I'm going to keep that spinning rod locked in my hand, and I'm going to go down this bank really until I run into the wind. And then I'm going to turn around and fish swim baits out deeper, and then keep in mind any fish that I might have run over before, like that rocky shoal that I kind of blundered into before. And I'll stop and I'll see if I can pick off a few of those fish on the way back. But I'm not gonna fish the same beds that I already fished once.
A little better.
You know, that I don't want to disturb the fish too much. This might be a little better one. Pulling the boat a little bit, that's always a good sign. Well, he's not a giant, but he's bigger than the last one. I've got 10-pound braid on my spinning rod with a 6-pound Yozuri hybrid leader, which is about the same diameter as 10-pound fluoro. And it's about as strong as 10-pound fluoro too.
Right in the nostril.
Yeah. Nice fish. Get him back right away. On to the next one. Alright, I've almost run over a fish here. I'm also running into the wind now. This fish was in a little bit deeper water, and I didn't see him until I was right on top of him pretty much. So that's why I'm fishing right off the back of the boat. It looks kind of ridiculous, but anyway, it worked. We'll get him in the net. Hopefully get a quick release on him so we can go back down to his nest. There he is. Not a very big one, but they're all fun. There's that big TRD. Slide it back down the line. You can't do this with regular plastic. It would just tear them up. It has to be the Z-Man stuff. Or some other elastomer type plastic. Alright, once I ran into the wind, I turned around. And I started fishing a swim bait. Yep, there's the B5 swimmer again. Still couldn't get any fish to eat it. I was hoping to get some of the bigger females that maybe were just a little bit offshore. But I still couldn't make that work. So on the way back, I remembered some of the fish that I'd run over before or spooked off. And off this rock wall there was a couple. And I switched to, that's a regular finesse TRD. It's not the big TRD, it's the little guy. I put a 1/32 ounce weight in the tail. And that's a green pumpkin orange color that I thought they might like. I don't know, just throwing something different. But it's really the same idea. It's reverse rigged. Got a little bit different hook there to match the size of the bait. And I'm just shaking it in place. It's a little bit, windy for that tiny, tiny weight there. I'm having a little bit of trouble just holding the boat still and getting my cast to land where I want it to. But we are going to make this work. I'm just shaking it in place. As soon as the fish picks it up, I reel down, give him a little wrist hook set. I'm not going crazy with the hook set because I've got light line. I don't want to pop my leader. Get him in the net. Hook's right in the top of the nose. Pop him off. And right back to go back to his nest. Alright, I think this is the last one of the trip. I did throw the B5 swim bait around some more, and I threw the 3.5 inch X-Zone mini swammer in a chartreuse and white color to see if I could get any takers on that, and I didn't even get any followers. So when I came back up on this rocky shoal, you can see the hazard marker there. I remembered kind of the layout of the rocky shoal, which side of the marker buoy it was, how it ran left to right. So I just kept the boat a little bit off of that marker buoy. And I was able to get another fish. I was actually casting at another fish further out, and then I saw another bed that came into view closer to me, and so I kind of reeled in and then just dropped it right on that fish, and he ate it. Reeled down to him, quick hook set. Should be hooked in the top of the nose there. Maybe I'll get my pliers, make it faster. That fish is still pretty green. Looks good. Off he goes. Got to dry off the camera lens after that fish. Splashed a little bit there. Well, I've had a good trip out here this afternoon. For our plan B, this worked out pretty well. Plan A was saltwater. I'm going to do that next weekend. But for plan B, this worked out pretty well. And the star of the show today was that big TRD in hot snakes color. By the end of it, the nail weight was coming out the side of the bait. And I'm going to retire that bait when I get home. Pull the nail weight out and get ready to use it again on another trip. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll list all the gear in the video description, just like all my other videos. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!